predominantly a landscape painter. And we're going to see some of your images, some of your landscapes, your local landscapes in a moment. But I just wondered whether in the lockdown you'd kind of given yourself permission to do something different.
Yeah, definitely. I felt when my show was cancelled in Canberra with Nancy Sever Gallery in May and prizes were shut down, Archibald, I'd been working on an Archibald painting and a whole range of other things, and all these sort of outcome orientated artworks that you do. And for the first time in my practice, and I know, I share a studio with Alan Jones, and Nicole Kelly's a good mate, and we all had the same sort of moment where we said we're going to start painting for ourselves for a change. We've even coined the term fluffism.
Fluffism.
Fluffism, yeah. So we're fluffists or florvists. I'm not sure which the pronunciation. Maybe the French is florvist. You could help me with that, Caro.
I think I prefer fluffists to florvists, but tell me what defines you as a group. What is your aesthetic? What's your principle?
Well, the principle is that you paint for yourself.
Right.
The principle is that there is a little bit of fluffing around, and that you're not meeting deadlines and shows and, painting for prizes. Back to this, it's almost childlike, primal, and you can really get lost in your work for a change. And look, here's an example that's up on the screen now. And this is a very abstract work for me. I feel like there's a bit of a notion of landscape in there. But I really enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed just pushing paint around. And, it's probably one of the first major abstract paintings I've done.
Certainly the thing that I know you best for, and that I think, the people who are watching today probably know you best for, are the local landscapes where you're a runner, you're out there when the day starts often, and you capture this, molten moment at the beginning of the day. I noticed that one of your favorite colors is a kind of lilac-y lavender.
I did a workshop earlier this year, just before the shutdown, with Idris Murphy. He's a master, in terms of his work. And he looked at me and he said, you're in this treacherous zone between being a colorist and a tonalist.
Ooh.
And which is really interesting, because, Matisse was a colorist, and, someone like, Rembrandt is a tonalist, and sometimes it can be very difficult in between. So using the lilac as a grey is one of the ways that you can bridge that, I guess. One of my favourite spots is probably this painting up on the screen here, which is on, I guess you'd call it Coldale Headland. You sort of turn right at the RSL and go straight down. And to me, that's an ideal spot. You can look north or you can look south.
What's the interest for you in revisiting the same place, the same landscape over and over and over again? Is it that thing of capturing, light, which is so transient?
There is something, pretty amazing about the light here. You get if you're looking north, you're going to get the pollution from Sydney. And so therefore you're going to get these really intense sunsets or sunrises as well. This is actually one of the ones from Tasmania from last year that I did with Oka down at Rocky Point National Park. So it's up on the top north of Tassie. And just the light is so crisp. I mean, you can see it in the foreground there where, the little rocks are sort of shimmering in a blue and a little bit of lilac and a bit of pink. And it was just such a crisp light.
I know it's light that you could cut with a knife, but I'm glad to see that there's a little bit of your signature lilac in there, because I'm now thinking of that as your color. What's the appeal of a cityscape for you?
I think it's pretty similar to down here. There's just there's a whole range of shapes and tones and colors and form. I did have for a long time there, I had a bit of a reluctance to paint trees, and since I've been teaching, I've actually learned a lot more about using green. It's one of the very difficult colours to use in a painting. So
well, I don't know why it's difficult, but you seem to have mastered green, because if we could just flick to the painting that I really, really want, which is a painting of the Wadi Wadi track, which is a place that I'm sure many of us know well and have walked on. And I adore this. I love the variety of plants that you've captured in the foreground, and the sort of, the grandeur of the trees. Talk to us there about this difficulty of green. I don't understand that.
Well, that was that was really the moment where I realized I had to get on with it and work out green. And the issue is you've just got to bring reds and warmth into your green. You can't, especially in Australia, we don't have the greens that they have over in the UK, and what we see in a lot of these old paintings that maybe we referenced, even some of the French Impressionists, it's a different green there. The green here it's gritty, it's brown, it's dirty, it's been affected by bushfires. And up on that spot, it's interesting because you've got light sort of coming from everywhere. It's right on this sort of a sort of high point of the area, and the light, it's almost in every direction. The light just infuses that area, so it just glows.
Now, I have a question coming in. Two questions, actually. I'm fascinated by the array of palettes on the left. This is Vivian is asking, please tell us about the palettes on the left.
I'll bring my camera over.
Okay.
These aren't palettes. These are little studies for a little commission I'm doing for the Wadi Wadi.
Okay.
They're little.
They're mini waddies.
Little mini waddies, exactly. And then there's a big wadi up there, and then they're the photos that I'm working from. So these are all little mixed media.
And we've also got a question from Sharon, who says, will you continue with abstract work, or are you feeling inclined to go back to landscapes, or are you going to kind of move between the two?
At this stage, I want to stay with them. I feel it's almost become a part of my practice. It's one thing I didn't mention. It's really helpful getting more of a sense of the paint itself and how to move the paint, and it sort of takes you into different places in terms of how you're using paint. It builds up a greater knowledge of layering paint, working with thick paint, working with palette knives, which when you're very concerned about the subject of your work, you tend to lose that. Working with texture and things like that, and with working with thick paint is almost like it adds another sort of dimension, another problem to painting. And when you don't have the subject, you can sort of put more of your time into it, I guess.
Thank you very much again for joining us this afternoon and putting up with a few little technical hiccups. And yes, look forward to seeing you around Coaldale on that beach at dusk or at sunrise, Ash. Cheers.
Thanks, Kara. Pleasure. See you later.